Okay, I guess I'm already live. I don't know if I have any. Oh, it says I have a viewer. Is that me? Am I the viewer? Okay. I can't see myself. I have a viewer, I think. Alright, let's fucking around. Okay. Hey, alright, I'm live. Okay, we can see everything on my desktop. Okay, let's see here. Can I hear this? Hello. Hey, alright, I'm live. Okay, okay. Okay. Let's see here. Can I hear this? Hello. Hey, alright, I'm live. Okay, okay. Okay. Alright. Now, can I hear this? Hello. Quick sound test. Okay. Actually, I can sort of get rid of that. Alright. Now, let's see. Sort of get rid of that. Alright. Now, let's see. Okay, perfect. Looks like this is working. Okay. Okay, let's check it out here. Okay. I'm gonna post on here. Okay. Okay. Okay, I really don't know where to see if anyone's watching right now. Let's see, okay. If anyone is watching, please say something in the chat. Where can I see how many viewers there are? Can I see it on here? Okay. Okay. Let's go back here. Okay. I saw it. Okay, so it said one was watching. Is that me watching? Can't tell. That was probably me watching. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Looks like there's like maybe a 5-second delay. I just wanted to do this live with people, but I know it's pretty fucking late. It's like 12:33 here. 5-second delay. I just wanted to do this live. I wanted people to be able to ask questions while I was doing this, and it's gonna create a nice video for everyone, but I'm being pretty lazy right now and I have a pretty busy weekend. And I don't really know if what I found is really worth me doing a whole video. I know some people like them, but anyway. So here is what I have found. I'm just gonna bring up a bunch of crap. You know, it's I'm gonna be bringing up different videos and shit that I've found and just putting something really quick together. So I was working on a video for my sub. Here's the video I was working on. And then I was making a post in the Never Be Game Over subreddit. And as I was making that post, I noticed something and I decided, okay, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to post somewhere else and I'm going to make a video about it. But like I said, I have a very busy weekend and I'm kind of being lazy and I kind of rather just get this stuff out to you guys now and let you guys mess around with it while I'm gone doing real world shit during the weekend. So let me just make sure you can see my desktop nice and clear here. Yep, you can. Okay. All right. So here's what I have so far for this little trailer I was making. Give you a little preview.
Your eyes. Let your ears listen in to the sound of the radio. Do you hear my voice? Can you hear the screams of your own soul? Let us choose. My voice, which tells the future, or your own, which struggles with torment. Well, what do you choose? You can choose your life, your future. Wise as you are, you may have already noticed. Radio drama from 75 years ago is the truth. They are here on Earth. They oversee and control all. Don't trust the news. Don't trust the police. They are already being controlled by them. And so it has been for 75 years now. Only our master can keep them at bay. You have a right to become one of us. So welcome to our world. Very soon, the gates to a new dimension will open. 204863. 204863.
Okay. So that's what I have so far. And okay, so I got 4 people in here. That's cool. All right. So bottom line, here's what I noticed while I was making this video. There's going to be a few random ass things I'm going to bring up, but here we go. Okay, so I decided while filming this hallway scene for PT, I've always had this feeling that the body crawling towards you after you is Big Boss. He's crawling in the exact same fashion. I don't know if you can see it because the screen's smaller, but I posted it in my other videos. So basically, the monster that's crawling down the hallway in the PT, I guess, concept trailer is crawling in the exact same fashion that Venom is out of the hospital. So, besides that, in that trailer, we have Chico. Chico's right here in this doorway on the left. If you're watching the screen, okay, there's Chico. Okay, and as we forward along, right around this corner, and we have a monster, and it's sucking on Chico's head, and then it's crawling towards you like Venom is crawling in the hospital. Okay, so there's that. Then we have the original. Well, I made the sound bite because I couldn't find it in English, but basically it's the words coming in over the game PT where they're saying basically someone's been in control for 75 years now, and yeah, like the rumors or whatever are true. They're in control of everything, and then it lets you not to believe the media, not to believe the police, all that stuff. So I think that kind of plays into Kojima doesn't want us believing the official story, that he got fired, and there's all this bad blood between him and Konami. And I know a lot of people, they're hung up on the fact that, oh, there's no way he could legally do this, but there's plenty of evidence that at least hints, not solid proof, but pretty good hints that all this is just a ruse. So back to what I found. So I was a little late to watch the most recent trailer, which is trailer 5 that I have titled here. So while I was making this video, I noticed a few things. I went back to the hospital in game to record this footage for this PT hallway here on the right side, and I had to restart the truth mission. So as I'm doing the truth mission, I've noticed the man who sold the world lyrics. Okay, so you're in the hospital, you wake up in the bed, and you're blinking. These lyrics are coming up. I'll make them nice and big so hopefully they fit on the screen to where you can read them in YouTube. But okay, we passed along the stair, so maybe the stairs from the PT demo. We spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. I said it was his friend, which is basically just, it's a bunch of crap basically that we're talking to the same person, or maybe he's talking to someone in his head, but just little references. So I'm guessing Kojima's the man who sold the world, and probably also Big Boss. I gazed at gazeless stare. Okay, maybe something to do with external gazer. Who knows? But there's a part in here where he's searched for form and land for years and years. He's roamed, and basically we've been for years and years roaming through the phantom pain. Most people that are really into this shit. So okay, so while I'm playing through the hallway of the phantom pain, where I can find that damn thing. Basically, you're following, I think, Ishmael, and his butt crack keeps showing. Okay, his butt crack showing, his butt crack showing. What the heck? But the butt crack showing thing, it points to the baby whose butt crack has been showing in all these fucking trailers, right? Okay, so there's that. But also, I noticed in the most recent trailer, trailer 5 for Death Stranding, if you're paying attention as you get further into the trailer, let me make this stuff a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay. Sorry, this is really sloppy, but I'm too lazy to make a video right now. I don't have time, and I don't want you guys to have to wait a long time to get the point. Okay, so here we go. So here is what I was just playing on my computer. So here's the truth mission. You wake up and you are blinking. See, he's blinking. He's blinking a shitload while he's in the hospital, but okay, blinking. Not a big deal. blinking. He's blinking. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. Okay, you get the point. He's fucking blinking a lot. So now back to the most recent trailer, trailer 5. I noticed while editing this video that as you're viewing these cutscenes and they're transitioning from one scene to the next. All right, here we go. So pay attention to this part. Look on the left side of the screen. I'm going to make it as big as I can for you. It's probably pretty sloppy, but you guys can go and look this up yourself. So I noticed while slowing down the footage and editing it that in between the transitions for this video, there is blinking. It's hard to make out, but this is not a scene fully cutting from one scene to the other. It's actually the blinking of an eyelid. So that eyelid is blinking here. And there it went again. So I'm going to rewind here. There it is. See that? That's an eyelid blinking. Okay. And then it goes to this. There it is again. Did you see that? It's blinking. The eyelid is blinking. Similar to how we're blinking in the hospital. Okay. Now I'm not going to hang everything up on that. Okay. That's not the bombshell that I found. And that's just a little something that I found that seemed pretty easy to compare it to the hospital footage inside the Phantom Pain. Now, I also noticed this scene right here with this chick. Actually, not that exact scene. It is this scene right here. Okay, so this chick is pulling one of the bridge babies out of thin air. That's what she's pulling. If you look at it, you can't really tell, but yeah, it's a bridge baby and it's being pulled out of thin air. So that got me thinking, basically, if you're familiar with Schrodinger's cat, the theory is if you put a cat in a box, and then, I don't know, something along the lines of, you put a gun in there or some shit. Basically, the cat's alive and dead. There's no way to tell until you open the box. And when you open the box, you being the external gazer determines whether or not that cat's dead. But as long as you don't open the box, the cat is both alive and dead. And it's not a definite reality until the box is open and is observed by the external gazer. So, while I was writing up this little story, it brought me into the Never Be Game Over post that I was making, and basically I was stating how when you see the cutscenes where there are eyelids blinking, it is the eyes here of the observer watching what is going on. Oh, okay, so what does the observer have to do with anything? Okay, so here's what I thought was a pretty decent bombshell. Okay, so forgive me, I have to actually import this part. I have a lot of footage I've been saving over the years, and it's all kind of cluttered everywhere, but basically, there's a lot of footage. Um, let's see, what did I title this damn video? Let's see, let's try ground zeros. Ground zeros. No, it's not. Here we go. Okay, ground zeros. Prisoner dialogue. What? What the hell is this? Well, this is one of the things that I think is probably the most obvious callback to all the shit we're seeing right now in Death Stranding. So, just a quick little thing I'm going to say really quick is that there's a lot of stuff in Death Stranding that I think obviously points to this ruse, and one of them is Norman Reedus and Del Toro were both supposedly in PT or Silent Hills, right? And then all of a sudden that's canceled. There's this big fallout, and oh, it's not going to happen. Everyone's real butthurt. And then lo and behold, Kojima left, and he's making his own game. And guess what? It still features Del Toro and Norman Reedus. Okay, now back to the Ground Zero. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but go ahead and listen to this. I'm going to go on mute, and I'll see if you can hear this guy.
Please, someone. The shrinking of wave function through observation on the part of the observer forces electrons to escape their probability class and bring sensation to our existence.
Okay, so not sure how much of that you were able to make out because it's pretty low, but he basically says the shrinking of wave functions. I think I titled it wave function. I don't know. I have it somewhere saved, but I know it's on Reddit somewhere. Let me check. Shrinking of wave. And I know I've posted this before, but I just want to be able to give you guys, let's try wave function. Just want to be able to give you guys a direct quote. Wave function. I probably misspelled that. Wave function, there we go. Okay, let's go back over to my sub here and see if I can find that fucking post. There we go. All right, so I posted this a long time ago. Let's see if I posted the, oh look, I posted about Schrodinger's cat a while ago. Okay, so here's a good part. This is going to play into it as well. This is one of my old YouTube videos. How old is this fucking thing? It's fucking old. 2017 January. Okay, so this is from Ground Zeroes. Our galaxy consists of some 300 billion stars. Around half are orbited by planets, and said that on average, conditions on two of a star's planets are suitable for life. No great leap of imagination is needed to believe the universe must be home to a myriad of life forms. What sort of intelligence would develop on these worlds? That is truly beyond our imagination. Okay, whatever. The next part is more relevant, I believe, which is the next little screen that's going to pop up. Let's see, when does it click over? Here it goes. What's more, we cannot say that our universe is the only universe at the quantum level until a wave function collapses upon observation, okay, the observer, the external gazer. Schrodinger's cat is alive and dead. As a superposition of states, the moment observation occurs, these two possibilities branch into separate worlds, with the universe continuing to split infinitely. I'm not certain if there's a third little thing. Oh, there is. Okay. If the universe splits without end, it's possible it could eventually recreate scenes from the past, and if those moments played out differently, it wouldn't negate what happened in our reality. A paradox would simply mean another future. The following is one possible story in one possible universe, born of paradox after paradox after paradox. Okay. So, what do I think all this is leading to? Well, I think Death Stranding is going to be similar to Metal Gear Acid, where you're still playing as Solid Snake or someone very relevant in the series, but you're not playing as the Solid Snake that we've played as through Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear Solid 2 for a bit. You're playing as him from a paradoxical world. Now, what's going on with all these bridge babies and the baby in PT? I think what's going on is that it's possible that if you know the story behind it, basically, um, when Solid Snake and Liquid Snake were cloned, Eva, Big Mama, was she had 8 different babies inside of her. Okay, if you're familiar with Metal Gear, it's called the Super Baby Method. Basically, they put 8 different clone babies of Big Boss inside of her, and then when they got to a certain point, they killed off 6 of the babies, leaving only 2 to make those 2 stronger. So basically, now they're getting the nourishment of 8 babies, or 6 on top of themselves. So these babies are going to be fucking stronger. And then Liquid supposedly got the recessive gene, and Solid got the dominant genes. Right. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe these bridge babies are possibly the 6 fetuses that were killed. Well, in an alternate reality, those babies actually did not die, or maybe they were pulled into this paradoxical world. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking is happening. Now, I also have this big feeling that Kojima has been wanting to go back to previous Metal Gear games and remake them, but not really remake them um, as like an easy cop out. But also that he kind of wants to touch on those games for fans to fill the nostalgia, but also branch off into something new. And I think this Death Stranding is an opportunity to do that because, like this screen in front of me says, if the universe splits without end, it's possible it could eventually recreate scenes from the past. So I think as you've seen Norman Reedus experiencing parts of, it looked like World War One, and I know in the second trailer, which first showed Mads and Del Toro, we also see some soldiers that look like they're from World War Two. So I think we're going into more than one era, but I also think it's going to touch on numerous games throughout the series, maybe close some of the loopholes that everyone was very curious about. And the Copplethorne engine, if you're not familiar with it, go ahead and Google Metal Gear Solid Copplethorne engine. But basically, it's the easy way out, just like the song from Low Roar that Kojima was referencing. It's the easy way out. The Copplethorne engine can easily tie anything and everything together, whether it's this series. I mean, fuck, if he really wanted to, he could make Metal Gear turn into fucking Call of Duty. You could tie it together with the Copplethorne engine. It's the easy way out. It really is. It can tie anything together if you read what it does and how it works. But essentially, the Copplethorne engine is from Metal Gear Acid 1 or 2, but it also shows up in External Gazer from Metal Gear Solid 2, which is an extra mission you get when you unlock the VR missions. But essentially, what the Copplethorne engine does is once you're inside of it, if it's plugged into VR, you can actually experience things from other realities as if you're there, as if you're that person experiencing it. Um, and so, yeah, you could hypothetically be in the Copplethorne engine as Joe Schmo and be experiencing Solid Snake infiltrating Shadow Moses for the first time, or Big Boss in Groznygrad, or in the Big Shell as Iroquois Pliskin here. You could view all of that through the VR universe, and I have a video that kind of goes into that. I can't find. I've made so many fucking videos, I can't go back and find it, but I'm sure it's titled properly. So if you look through my YouTube channel, you'll find it somewhere. But essentially, the digital comic book, they made one for Metal Gear Solid 1, and then they made one for Metal Gear Solid 2. These are both games that came out on the PSP, and then I think they later came out to the HD collection. But um, you can watch the cutscenes, at least from the Metal Gear Solid 2 version, because it was never officially released. And in that, in the very beginning, there's a cutscene where it shows Raiden in VR training, and he's actually infiltrating Shadow Moses. And when it gets to the part where he's fighting Liquid, hand-to-hand combat like Solid Snake did, he just fucking obliterates his ass. And then after he beats the shit out of him, it cuts. You realize that Raiden was in VR, and then it gives him a rating. It's like, oh, you completed it. Shadow Moses complete. You have a fucking like 97% um, rating on how you did versus how I guess it's synced up with the actual event. So the Copplethorne engine is something that can do something similar to that scene where you can create that reality. So I think that's what's going on. We may be in another paradox world, but also using the Copplethorne engine, plugging in with some of these bridge babies, I guess. It's bridging you to alternate realities within the series timeline. And I think the dead babies inside PT were kind of pointing to that as well. Um, but back to the prisoner dialogue here.
To escape their probability class and bring sensation to our existence.
This guy in Ground Zeroes, he's a prisoner you find on the, I believe it's the Jemias View or the Deja Vu mission, or it's one of those missions, but it's this prisoner, and he's talking about wave functions collapsing on themselves and creating alternate realities, and that the reality is not determined until observed by an external gazer. You may not actually say external gazer, but it's pretty much there. And again, I think these scenes with the galaxies and the alternate realities, that's from the Jemias Vu mission where you have to hunt snatchers. So I just wanted to post that stuff. This is what to me links all this stuff together and makes it real obvious that this is what's going on in the series. At least it's a really good explanation for a lot of the stuff. While I was watching and playing through the truth mission, I think I might have cut it off, but in the very beginning, it tells you there are no facts, only interpretations. So Kojima doesn't really give us any facts. He gives us trailers and they're open to interpretation. But I think that the prisoner dialogue from Ground Zeroes talking about external wave functions and different alternate realities and how they change based on the observer, and also the intros that were used in the Jemias Vu's mission that are talking about alternate realities, Schrodinger's cat, and probability clauses. I think all of that also plays into the most recent trailer where we can see the eyelids blinking. And as those eyelids are blinking, it's an external gazer. It's a person observing what's happening in the world of Death Stranding, whether that's Norman Reedus or us as the player breaking the fourth wall. Either way, there's an external person there watching this happen, and that seems to be what the Copplethorne engine is all about. Not only are you observing it from an alternate reality, but you're also able to control what happens in that reality, and change things. And like the YouTube video said somewhere in here, basically, uh, you have a way to change these things. It doesn't mean because there's the Copplethorne engine doesn't necessarily change what we had experienced in previous games. It just branches out into an alternate timeline, which would have began when it broke off once it had whatever significant change it had to cause it to split or branch into a separate world. So that's what I have for now. I mean, I have lots of old videos that kind of go into that stuff, and I'm still working on this video, but I just wanted to get that out there for you guys so you're not waiting forever to kind of get what I was going on. Sorry that this video is fucking really rough and it's just me blabbering, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going on. Okay, let's read some of these comments you guys have been posting in here. See if observations in quantum physics. Yeah, I mean, observations in quantum physics, I've actually looked into the quantum physics before in the past. There's this thing called the slit test. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but basically it's a real thing. The slit test is they fire protons through this let's just say a piece of cardboard with a slit in it, and the protons always hit this one specific area. But once it's observed by an observer and there's two slits placed in there, the fucking protons can hit different areas. I don't. You got to watch the video. They're gonna explain it a lot better than you. Um, Stuff I've posted for years. It's funny, dude. It's really it's. Sorry, this video looks like shit because it's like it's like video in video. Sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy, but I remember when the PT original ending came out. I remember as soon as I saw Norman Reedus, I know Kojima pretty well, I've been a big fan of his since I was a little kid playing Metal Gear on the NES, and I kind of know how he's been working. And I knew when I saw Norman Reedus, okay, at least to me, that's Solid Snake. That's where he's going with this. Maybe it's not the Solid from our reality, but that's what I saw it as. I said, okay, so this is going to be the next Solid Snake. And then since then, there's been all kinds of other crazy shit that would point to that not being the truth, but that's what I came up with from there. And over time, I kind of posted different stuff in uh, in the subreddit Never Be Game Over, and a lot of people were like, "You're nuts! There's no way this isn't happening." And there's been plenty of reasons to say that it's not happening, but I just kept on chugging along, putting out whatever I could. But man, I bet so many people back in the day that, if it turned out to be a Metal Gear game, they'd have to buy me a copy, and those people have long since disappeared. But it's cool to hear that a lot of my stuff's being referenced. I made a lot of stuff that, um, came up later, and I was the one that made the picture a long time ago where Ludens' mask is photoshopped onto Norman Reedus's body from PT, where he's holding a flashlight, and that blew up. But I didn't watermark it or anything, so it's just kind of whatever. And I remember being like, "Oh man, I wish some of my other stuff got more attention." And I'm glad to see that my sub at least has 200 subscribers. It's not that much, but I really don't advertise it, and it's all been people that have just kind of came over, and it started because Never Be Game Over was so toxic at a time that it was just depressing to post in there. It made me not want to go on. But posting over in my own sub and seeing people, you know, kind of latch on to, yeah, you know what, maybe this is Metal Gear. There's plenty of reasons to believe it's not, but why go through all this trouble for Kojima to to not make another Metal Gear game? I'm sure we've all said, oh, he's tired of it. He doesn't want to make those games anymore, but he's treating this exactly like he would a Metal Gear game, except he's going to like the 10th power because fucking every game since Metal Gear Solid 2, he said he's done with the series, doesn't want any part of it. So there's an old saying, fuck me once, shame on you. Fuck me twice, shame on me. So basically, what that means is he's pulling the same trick. If you keep falling for it, then it's on you. And you wouldn't fall for it again if he didn't go to this extreme to make it believable that he's long gone from everything like that. But yeah, it's awesome that some of my videos have been pulled. I know Liquid turned out to be the dominant baby. That's kind of leaked, I think, at the end of Twin Snakes or maybe the original game. But yeah, it turns out that Solid had all the recessive genes and he still won. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Acid. I'm always assume VR missions. Let's see. Yeah, early admits coming to a conclusion. 4 stars. I did. I look. I'm not denying it. I did come to a conclusion before seeing any clues. But like I said, at that point, I knew Kojima pretty well, and this is before I think even TPP had dropped. We had this. First, we had PT. The It wasn't a trailer. It was like a prototype trailer, and um, we had Chico. Chico's dead ass just showing up without a head. Um, so I was already like, okay, this is Metal Gear related, or he's reusing these models. But then you also have the crawling down the hallway with the monster that was sucking on Chico, and it's crawling exactly like Venom is in the Phantom Pain. Um, and yeah, I came to a conclusion that soon, but it's just because I kind of saw already where he was going with that. I I mean, that was a pretty big clue for me. What's the whole point of even showing Norman Reedus if he's just going to be the protagonist of Silent Hill? They've had so many different protagonists for Silent Hill. I guess some people would be hype. Oh yeah, I'm a fan of Norman Reedus, and now he's going to be the protagonist in Silent Hill. Okay, great. I mean, yeah, I could probably get a little hype for that. But Norman Reedus has done other games, and same with Kiefer Sutherland. He's done other games, and there wasn't as much hype. But um, one thing I want to say that I think really kind of did it for me is I've been a Metal Gear fan, like I said, since I was really, really small, and I've played all the games at release. I've waited in line for them to come out at midnight at some points, but basically, what we have is a lot of people started with Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. So, Metal Gear Solid, you're playing a Solid Snake, right? Everyone's fucking stoked on that. And Kojima's known for pushing the limits of the technology at the time, and Metal Gear Solid was a big deal because everything was being rendered in game and not, cutscenes that were pre-rendered, and that was a big deal. Okay, and then Metal Gear Solid 2 comes out, and that's a big seller for the PlayStation 2. And again, the graphics are amazing, and everything's being rendered in game. And Kojima kind of fucks with everybody. He lets you believe that you're going to be playing Solid Snake. You're so stoked. All these people were so stoked that you got to play a Solid Snake again. We've been waiting since PlayStation 1 to play as this guy, and it was awesome. And now he's on PlayStation 2. This game's going to fucking kick ass. And then you boot up the game and you're in the tanker mission and you're like, fuck yeah, this is fucking awesome. And then the tanker goes down and they're saying Snake's dead. And you're like, there's no way fucking Snake's dead. And then he shows up and he's inside the big shell and he's got his mask on. And you're like, fuck yeah, Solid Snake's back. I'm going to fuck this shit up. And then he fucking takes off his mask and it's fucking right. And you're like, who the fuck is this little wimpy dude? And he's got this really girly voice and he doesn't do the roll. He kind of does like this split somersault type thing. And people were just like, what the fuck is this? Right. And then it introduced Solid as Snake, and okay, so enough of that. Then we get Metal Gear Solid 3. Oh wow, what's this? Metal Gear Solid 3. Okay. So you start playing now in the early prototype days of Metal Gear Solid 3, they were actually using big pieces of Metal Gear Solid 2. So you were in the old demos, you can find them somewhere on YouTube, but basically they had Solid Snake, Pliskin. They were using Pliskin's model from Metal Gear Solid 2 in the early footage for Metal Gear Solid 3. So it looked like Pliskin was in the fucking jungles of who knows where. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 comes out. Okay, now guess what? For a lot of people that were fans, most of them started at PlayStation 1. They don't know who the fuck Big Boss is. He's referenced in the other games, but you never got to experience the guy. Then you actually end up playing as him in Metal Gear Solid 3, and people are fucking pumped because when you play as Big Boss, there's a whole survival element to it. And I mean, you learn who the boss is, and it's just fucking. Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the best games of all time to me. I can't even tell you how many times I've played that game. And you know what? I have a lot of games. Let me just show you my Steam account really quick. I mean, this is just Steam. I have um, PlayStation and all that shit too, but there's probably like 500 games here on Steam. But so out of all those games, I'm saying, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the greatest games. I remember when it came out. But the point is, I don't want to get off track. Metal Gear Solid 3, you're playing as Big Boss. That's where a lot of people learned who Big Boss was because not very many people played Metal Gear on the MSX or on regular Nintendo, and the Nintendo versions they're not. I don't think Kojima really goes too much based on those versions. He likes to use the MSX versions, and those were actually included in Metal Gear Solid 3. I think it was Subsistence. Every Metal Gear game since Metal Gear Solid 1 has came out with like a bonus disc about a year later that has VR missions and also a little extra stuff. And Metal Gear Solid 3 did the same thing, and it came out with the first original two MSX versions of Metal Gear. Okay, so where's this fucking guy going with all this shit? Okay, so Metal Gear Solid 3, we played as Big Boss. It was fucking awesome. It was a lot of people's first time experiencing Big Boss, and you knew what a hero he was and how he got fucked over. And then what comes out next? Metal Gear Solid 4. Oh, what's Metal Gear Solid 4? Okay, so that comes out. Again, another Metal Gear game exclusive to PlayStation. Exclusive, still to this day exclusive to PlayStation. And you're playing a Solid Snake, and you're watching the end of his storyline. Okay, and then it gets to the end, and Big Boss shows up, and okay, great. And then what comes next? We had Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Oh, we're transitioning back to Big Boss. Now we're playing as Big Boss. It's after Metal Gear Solid 3, and I'm not really going to count Portable Ops, but yeah, playing Peace Walker and Peace Walker, in a lot of ways, it was awesome to me because it connected a lot of people. Um, and Yeah, so then we had Peace Walker, and when Peace Walker ended, it ends with Kaz betrayed Big Boss, but he told him he did it to make Mother Base stronger. And then Big Boss says, "You know what? I'm starting Outer Haven or Outer Heaven, and maybe the world's going to be coming after us. And fuck it, I don't care. This is war." And when that happened, it made everyone, at least me personally, it made me think, okay, the next Metal Gear game that comes out, I thought was going to be a lot like Ground Zeroes and TPP, but I also thought it was going to have that connectivity that Peace Walker had. And Peace Walker came out originally on fucking PSP, and it had that co-op gameplay, and it was awesome. And I thought that's where the Phantom Pain was going to go. And it didn't go there for the co-op, and I was really disappointed. But I think that's what he's talking about with all these connections in Death Stranding. And I think the reason he showed us that pachinko machine with Metal Gear Solid 3 is because he knew everyone wanted that and it was going to rattle a lot of people. But I also think it's very possible that that's the kind of thing we're going to see in Death Stranding, where we enter these alternate timelines or also go back to these alternate timelines, and now maybe we're playing a significant part of Metal Gear Solid 3. Maybe these games get released on, like as episodes where we have to buy them, and and another thing, it's Death Stranding is exclusive to PlayStation, and I thought it was cool how Ground Zeroes and The Phantom Pain were one of those games that broke from the tradition of being exclusive to PlayStation. And what it did was it got a lot of fans that couldn't experience those games together because guess what? You could finally play Metal Gear at release on an Xbox or on PC. So it gathered a lot of new fans because of that. And so the point I've been trying to make since I started talking about Metal Gear 1 is how does that all come together, especially from a business point of view? I don't know how Kojima can be working on this, but what it says to me is if I was Sony, the next game in the series I would want to be a PlayStation exclusive because now you have all these fans that started with Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain from all these other consoles, and the only way they can get the next entry in the series is by buying a PlayStation. And not only that, but what have all these games been leading up to? What has Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, The Phantom Pain, Ground Zeroes, what have all these been leading up to? Well, it's been leading up to the most epic fucking battles in the whole fucking series that most people have never ever gotten to experience. You've spent all these years playing as Solid Snake. You spent all these years playing as Big Boss. But where the story all started was Solid Snake fighting Big Boss. And most people have not gotten to experience that. Kojima always said he wanted to be able to remake the original games because he was very limited by the technology of the times. So the reason it actually became a stealth game is because they couldn't render more than a certain amount of characters and bullets on the screen at the same time. Well, now the technology's there. He can remake those. And all these new fans come together, and all the old fans that have been waiting for this will finally get to see Big Boss and Solid Snake duke it out. Um, and that's where I also think this is going. So I think we're going to touch on other Metal Gear games, and I think all this Copplethorne engine stuff is how they're going to make that happen. But I also think that we will get to see the original Metal Gear games. And one of the things I think also kind of pointed to that was when the Phantom Pain came out. Kojima released this image where it was the whole map of Afghanistan, and overlaid on it was the maps from every Metal Gear game up to that point, even Ground Zeroes. And you could see that, oh, Afghanistan alone is so much bigger than all these games. But Afghanistan was mostly empty. And I really think the Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes were just stories that needed to be told because one, they needed to make some money. Two, they needed to tell those stories. Otherwise, people were not going to appreciate what came next. They needed something to really tie that together and explain why there was two big bosses. So they had to do that. And I think now everything is tied up perfectly to where you can finally get to experience playing as Solid Snake, um, fighting Big Boss, and fighting Venom. And I'm not sure if this is how it's going to work, but I thought one thing that would be totally fucking awesome if they could do it was make it so that when and if you're replaying at least the original Metal Gear game, which is just called Metal Gear, there's no Solid to it. If they actually remade that, it'd be great to have, Big Boss. Big Boss used to, in the original Metal Gear, Big Boss is the one telling Solid Snake, "Hey, you got to go inside Outer Heaven. You got to go inside Outer Heaven and fuck fuck these people up," basically. And I thought it would be really cool if they made it so that you're playing on current gen, and Big Boss sends you into Outer Heaven, and Outer Heaven turns out to be a sweet ass base, similar to what you had in TPP, but instead taking place in Zanzibar or wherever. And you're not supposed to go in guns blazing, killing everyone. And I thought it'd be a really cool feature if you're going in and the soldiers that are in that base are soldiers that were in your staff from the Phantom Pain. And now you got to really think, do I want to go in guns blazing? I might be killing some S rank soldiers that I worked really fucking hard to get. I might be blowing up a lot of the shit that I worked really hard to get for years and build up. And it would kind of give you more of a feeling behind it. Like, fuck, do I want to kill this guy or just knock him out? So, um, that's where I kind of think it's going, and I really hope it is going to be a Metal Gear 1 and 2 remake, and what a fucking remake of all the games. But I really think that a lot of people need to be able to experience the first two games that were on MSX, but I also think it's also not only should they, I think that's what everything in the series since Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation has been leading up to is going back to the two guys you have played as throughout this series finally duking it out, and now you have the full picture and you can fully understand what happened and why it's a tragedy that Solid Snake is going to kill Big Boss and kill Venom, and Venom especially. I mean, you know that Venom was just a fucking loyal soldier that was betrayed by Big Boss. Where does Gray Fox fit in all of this? Um, that's a good question. Um, I want to say I had a few few weird thoughts in the past week, so these might be a little out there. But first of all, for the longest time, I've always felt that Mads was going to be Gray Fox. I know everyone says Mads is the Sorrow, and I can see that, but maybe the Sorrow kind of takes on Gray Fox because a lot of Gray Fox's persona is that he's a soldier from another side. He came from another place in time, and he says that to he says that to Solid Snake in the original PlayStation game and in the Twin Snakes remake. He came from another world to battle with Solid Snake once again. So I think that Mads is actually Gray Fox. And not only that, I don't think that Kojima would waste a big actor like Mads on the Sorrow because he's not as big of a character as Gray Fox. So while I do feel the Sorrow could be in there, I really think he's Gray Fox. He's Frank Hunter. So, and I really think the same thing for Norman Reedus. I don't think that Kojima would waste these big actors on not being these primary characters in the series. What I really want to know is who's going to be playing Big Boss. Is it going to look like Big Boss from The Phantom Pain? Is it going to be Kiefer's voice? Is it going to be David Hayter? Um, and Yeah, so that's that's where I see all this going, and I don't have all the hardcore facts, but Kojima said there are no facts, there's only interpretations, and we have to use those interpretations to kind of get a feel for what he's doing. And I've been a fan for a long time. That's why I felt when I first saw Norman at the end of PT that that's where this was all going. I kind of already it was like I saw a little window into the end of it all, and I said, okay, I got you, dude. I see what you're doing here, and that's great. And then I just kind of had to see where he was going with all this other stuff. Um, if Kojima's had this idea for 20 years, then I can believe that because I think, well, for one, he's always talked about making the original Metal Gear games for a long time. It's probably been about 20 years since he originally had that quote. But also, I think he would have to go that far back in order to have something so intricate um, play out the way I've just described. And maybe it won't play out exactly like that. I hope it does. But um, oh, you guys want to see something cool about Ogre? Oh, actually, I'm not going to show you the Ogre part because I think for a few weeks I was going off on Ubisoft being the blue ogre and Konami being the red ogre, and um, I don't know if I feel that anymore. Don't really feel that anymore. But I will say this. I will say this. Metal Gear has had a few different Ubisoft things brought into it. In Metal Gear Solid 4, you can unlock the Altair costume, which is the main character of Assassin's Creed. And then in Peace Walker, you unlock an Assassin's box, and there's a whole reference to Assassin's Creed. And then there's also Monster Hunter, though, inside, you know, uh, Peace Walker. But yeah, they have Ubisoft and Capcom in the credits at the end of Peace Walker if you ever watch that far into it. Yeah, and I think Survive is another story that had to be told to kind of link this over. And I think I think what we're seeing right now is still in Fox Engine because there doesn't really seem to be that much difference between the ending um, graphics of PT with Norman Reedus and what we're seeing now. I think the reason there's such a big difference in the Fox Engine from um, the Phantom Pain to what we're seeing in PT and Death Stranding is that the Phantom Pain was also released on last gen systems. It was released on PlayStation and it was released on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. And I think that those kind of held it back. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the blue and red stuff. Blue Ogre, Red Ogre, and what they used to have Project Omega. I was watching all those videos when they came out. Oh shit, this is real. Yeah, yeah. I still have PT. I still have it on my PlayStation 4 behind me. I haven't played it for a while, but I've beaten it a few times. There's actually three different colored flashlights you can get in PT. Um, there's a normal flashlight, and then there's blue, and there's yellow. And then there's the red hallway scene. I don't think there's a red flashlight. I thought there was, but I think I'm just misremembering that. But um, yeah, I have PT. I even have the remakes of PT that people made for the PC that got taken down. I was able to snag a few of those, and I still have them somewhere on my hard drive. But I think PT was. I think PT was just a way to show off the graphics engine and what it's capable of. I think throwing the Silent Hills name on there was just a way to throw people off the scent. And I think him showcasing Norman Reedus at the very end of the trailer was, I think it was kind of a nod to people that are just kind of able to say, okay, you know what, I know where this fucker's going with this. How do you think he's incorporating Silent Hills in terms of the potential paradoxical realities? Honestly, I don't think he is. Maybe he is. Kojima's touched on Castlevania too. He remade fucking Castlevania a few years back. But the reason I don't think he's doing Silent Hills is just because when he revealed that it was not PT, it was Silent Hills. It's Silent Hills with an S. We haven't had Silent Hills like that with an S on the end. I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as being a Silent Hill game. If it is, I think it's just going to go for the horror aspect where there's creepy shit. You know, the series is a lot darker than you think. Um, and, you know, I don't know where he's going with the I kind of got a feeling when earlier tonight when I was playing the truth mission and you're in the hospital bed and the man who sold the world's playing on the radio and you're blinking and it related back to the cutscenes from the fifth trailer where there's blinking. I kind of got the feeling that people are going to be going back to the Phantom Pain because there's going to be shit in Death Stranding that's going to make you be like, oh shit, I got to go back and experience that. I think it's going to tie some shit together, especially with Truth. Because, you know, the big 1984 saying the truth is a lie, and we all know that Kojima was really pointing to 1984 and in Moby Dick, which, you know, Moby Dick didn't get its last chapter until way after the game released. Um, the reason I think it's not going to also be Silent Hills is because at the end of the end of the Phantom Pain, we have the MSX machine, and the MSX machine originally used to boot up to Metal Gear. That was the game that, or actually, I think it was Portopia. I'm not sure which came first. I know it eventually was Portopia. I don't know if it started off as Metal Gear and then got changed to Portopia, or if it started as Portopia and then got changed to Metal Gear. So there's that, but also in the very last cutscene for the Phantom Pain, after you smash the mirror with your fist, if you look at the door behind Big Boss, it turns into an outer haven or an outer heaven logo. It actually has the skull with the wings. And I think that is another big nod that what we're getting next is going to be outer heaven. Um, and I also kind of think these alternate realities, these different universes or timelines could be seen as outer heaven or things that are outside of heaven, you know, metaphorically speaking. Um, I'm very familiar with Silent Hill. I mean, I'm probably not the most diehard fan, but I did play the original on PlayStation. I still have it on my PS Vita and my PSP, and I played Silent Hill 2. I did play Silent Hill 3. I didn't beat it. I even had it on PC when it was like fucking 6 or 7 discs. And then I played Silent Hill 4: The Room when that came out. Didn't beat it. And then I played Silent Hill 5, and I have Silent Hill 5 on my PC here. And I've beaten that a few times. Silent Hill 5, or Homecoming is what it's called, is a good game. I really enjoyed playing that one. I thought it had a really good feel to it. But yeah, I'm pretty. I guess I'm decently familiar with Silent Hill and the lore behind it, and I know like the cult, and you know the I have posts somewhere on fucking Never Be Game Over. I've had a few different usernames over the years, but I have one on there that talks about the save symbol from Silent Hill. If you go and look on the Silent Hill wiki, it tells you what the save symbol from Silent Hills is all about, and I'm pretty sure that it has something to do with the god that you're referring to, and it has some other stuff to it too. you go and look it up. Um, yeah, so anyway, what time is it? It's 1:30. Okay. I mean, I don't know if you guys want me to keep going on. I think I kind of gave you my whole gist of everything. Unless you guys have any other questions or anything else you'd like me to expand on. But basically, I think there's a lot of stuff that can point to this being either straight up Metal Gear remakes of maybe all the games, or maybe just the first two games, or maybe coming in um, episodes, or maybe I don't think it's something completely different. I don't think it's a brand new series because he's just doing way too much work to. There's no need for a ruse like this if this is just a new series. You know, it's just too much. Yeah, I'm going with the Copplethorn too. Um, let me go find this fucking thing really quick. Copplethorn. It's funny. Kojima was posting. He was posting Low Roar before he even released. I think it might have been before Ground Zeroes, maybe after or during, but definitely before PT. He was posting this Low Roar album, Zero here, which I've listened to a bunch of fucking times. And I remember, so, you know, right after the first trailer for Death Stranding, he re released it with I'll Keep Coming as the music behind it, but he made a comment that he really enjoyed uh, this song, The Easy Way Out. And that's what I think the Copplethorn is. I think this album has a lot of stuff that kind of nods towards what's going on with Kojima, but doesn't give you an exact fact. And I think the Copplethorn is his easy way out. It's if you Google search it, if you're not familiar, it can tie anything together, really. I mean, fuck. You could be in the Copplethorn engine right now, experiencing what I'm doing and controlling what I'm doing. If you read about it and understand how it works, all you need is to hook it up to a VR machine, and you can control any reality. Um, okay, yeah, that's interesting about the Halo jump in Big Boss. Um, I don't know. There might be a low roar video that involves Copplethorne engine. I never really. I've watched a few of their videos, but I once they started making videos for like a newer album, I just kind of lost interest. But an interesting thing about what you were saying, 8411, about Big Boss and the Halo jump and the Silent Hills ending and waking up for a dream. When I went back tonight, playing the Truth mission and seeing how he's blinking and seeing how we had those blinks in the most recent trailer while the cutscenes were transitioning, I got the feeling that it could be explained that. Remember, I just said a few minutes ago that we might be going back to TPP to kind of piece some shit together. Well, I'm thinking that maybe that 9 years you're in a coma could be what you're coming back from in these alternate realities. So, what you're experiencing during Death Stranding in an alternate reality, and then coming back, just like the guys in Metal Gear Survive, where they're gone for years too, right? But they're in an alternate reality. So maybe you were also in another reality while supposedly you were in this coma. You wake up, it's 9 years later. They need a real handy way to explain this to the player. Well, you've been in a coma. Instead of saying, well, you've been in a fucking alternate reality where there's demons and Copplethorn engines and you're traveling to different timelines within the series. When you say Black Mirror sensation, are you referring to that episode of Black Mirror? Oh yeah, the wandering soldiers in TPP are definitely from Survive. That's explained. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like a factual thing. Um, yeah, so I have seen that episode of yeah, Low Roar is Kojima. Um, I have seen that episode. I remember when that episode came out, someone posted on Never Be Game Over, like, "Hey, you guys gotta watch this shit." Pretty sure it's referring to Kojima. And I watched it and I was like, "Oh shit!" But that's a horror game that they're dealing with in there. But that's a good episode. I've watched it a couple times. But yeah, I think Kojima's done so much shit over the years, and he's said so many times that he's done with the series. I remember he was telling everyone, "Oh, I'm gonna do something really big, but there's a chance I could be kicked out of the industry if people aren't happy with it." Well, I think this is it, and obviously you can see that it's a really big thing, and it encompasses possibly all the games in the series, and I think people would be happy with it. I think that's the only reason he would be willing to take a risk like that. I mean, you really think that that huge risk that he'd be risking his whole career on was the Phantom Pain? The Phantom Pain was, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a flop, but as a huge fan of the series, it's definitely not my favorite game in the series, especially in the main entries. I mean, I swear I had more fun playing Portable Ops on PSP back in the day than I did playing the Phantom Pain. The Phantom Pain seemed like a huge step back. Also, his father and how he trained him to go full cowboy mode. Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, you know, I don't know if you were here earlier, but yeah, with Metal Gear Solid 2, he had a lot of people upset. I mean, that's what he does, man. He fucking he likes to fuck around with his fans, but the juice has to be worth the squeeze, right? I mean, what's the point of him fucking with you if he's just gonna give you some fucking shitty game that wasn't worth all the trouble? He wouldn't have any fans left if he kept doing that. So I think that this is going to be the thing that fucking really makes or breaks him, but I'm pretty sure it'll make him. Because, fuck, I mean, looking at Death Stranding and how detailed it is compared to the Phantom Pain, it's fucking night and day. I mean, the Phantom Pain, yes, I do think, I actually know for a fact Metal Gear Solid 2 was a VR simulation. Um, I can prove it to you. I have to go through my histories here, but I know for a fact that I've posted actual evidence that it is a VR. The whole game is VR. I was hoping I can find it easily in here. Let's see here. I know I've posted it though, but here, I'll just tell you in the meantime while we're all waiting for me to fucking locate this. But essentially, when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, they released Metal Gear Solid 4 digital database for the PS3, and I still have it. And I took screenshots of it, but essentially, when you go and look up what Metal Gear Solid 2 was, it straight up tells you in the database, yeah, what Raiden experienced in Metal Gear Solid 2 was all VR. Um, so it's, I mean, it's written right there in plain English on the description of the game from Metal Gear Solid 4. This, I'm not sure. I mean, I've had this for so long. I'm not sure how long back it was that I posted this. That was probably about a year ago. I just started really talking to my fiance back then, so I'm pretty sure it'll be somewhere around this area. Oh, let's see. I might have to do a search for it. Let's see. Let's see. Let me open this up so I can see what you guys are saying while I'm searching for this shit. The N gauge. There's Metal Gear game that I really wanted for the mobile phone. Metal Gear Social Ops. I never had that one. I had Metal Gear Solid 4 for the iPhone. It just stopped working like last year, but I never had the Social Ops, and that looked like a really fun game. Okay, let's see here. Um, oh, you guys want to hear a cool thing about the series being VR? I have a video in here. It's probably one of my more recent videos, but and it's really long. I can tell you it's a really long video. I don't want to go look for it right now, but it's a really long video, and it's one of my more recent ones. It's still probably old, maybe 6 months to a year, I don't know. But essentially, what happens is in Metal Gear Solid 4, when you die enough times, if you keep dying and dying and dying and calling Rosemary, who's supposed to be the person that's in charge of your psyche, so you don't have a mental breakdown on these missions, Solid Snake tells her, which is a fourth wall breaking thing, that every time he dies and he comes back, he doesn't see it that way, but he's saying, "Oh man, I keep having these weird feelings of deja vu, like I've been here before, or like I've died before." And then she tells him, "Oh yeah, there's all these things," and blah, blah. You got to watch the video, but I pull out those specific cutscenes in there just for that reason. Let me see if I can find this. Okay. If you start the plant chapter first, Raiden doesn't mention completing VR. If you complete the tank chapter, Raiden says in the beginning of the tank chapter he's completed VR. Yeah, it's also in the digital graphic novel they have for Metal Gear Solid 2, and it's a lot easier explained. But the weird thing is, in the digital graphic novel, the VR mission that you're watching Raiden play was actually Shadow Moses. And I'm pretty sure I remember in Metal Gear Solid 2, it's been years since I've beaten that game, but towards the end, they say that the big shell was supposed to be like a recreation of Shadow Moses for that specific reason. Let's see. See if I can find the database. Okay, here's the screenshot from the Metal Gear digital database here. Hopefully this is where I had the pictures about Raiden. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, Metal Gear 4 is it's pretty nuts. Let's see what I had here. Okay, so here these are screenshots on the left side of the screen that are from the Metal Gear database. Maybe I don't have the ones about. I could have sworn I had the ones. I know I've posted them somewhere in here. I just can't locate them, but um, I know I have. There's definitely something in there in the database that talks about Raiden experiencing the big shell and that it was all VR, the whole thing. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not sure where. I have a lot of videos on this YouTube channel. I've made some of them are, most of them, honestly, are just music playing to different cutscenes, and a lot of them are pretty similar to each other. It was more like practice for making videos because I that's how I learned how to do all this was when these came out. I was like, fuck, I gotta tell these people what's going on. So I had to learn how to do all this video editing. Um, but yeah, there's some videos in here that I think are still very relevant and have some really big clues on my channel, but they're mixed in with all this other shit that I just it's hard to navigate. I can only imagine how hard it is to navigate for you guys, but I think I titled them all pretty well, so you might be able to find them. Let me see if I can find it by VR. Okay, well, here's the video that's about VR that I made. Let's see what it was called. It's the External Gazer Final. Okay, so someone was telling me they watched that. Um, okay, let me see if I can find the image about riding. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I hear you with, well, I doubt it accurately simulates the events of that mission. He's like, no way, VR's done everything. I've done VR 53 and VR 54. It's just as real. And then Snake's like, yeah, I bet the bullets don't hurt when you're in VR though, huh? It's like, oh well, we have haptic feedback, so it's kind of like you can feel the shots. Yeah, I remember Vulcan Ravens, like he's telling him like snakes don't belong in Alaska, and then he tells him you're possessed by a demon. And you know what? I have a trailer that I made on my channel. Um, I don't know which one it is, but it's dialogue from the Sorrow from Metal Gear Solid 3, and the Sorrow's talking to Big Boss and says, "You'll be killed by your sons." And he says, "No, your son's sons," which doesn't make sense to me. Solid Snake and Liquid Snake and Solid Snake can't have kids, but maybe their sons, maybe the sons they could have were like digital recreations. So maybe that has something to do with it or something along those lines. Uh, um, and yeah, there was a lot of talk about the Phantom Pain was really close to being like um, Metal Gear Solid 2, and how Mother Base is kind of like the Big Shell. But then again, Mother Base was kind of like the Big Shell in Peace Walker also. But I think one little thing that's kind of a little nod there is that um, Kojima um, Kojima wanted when people were disappointed with Metal Gear Solid 2, I think that was part of him fucking with people because he knew what was coming next was going to really be what people wanted all along, and it was really going to satisfy all the fans, and that was the whole point of disappointing them in the first place. You take something away and then you reward them afterwards, and that's what drives them crazy. And I think that's why we have the Phantom Pain. It's in the fucking title. He's taking something away from the fans. He's causing that Phantom Pain, and then what comes next is the new Metal Gear Solid 3 type game that answers everyone's questions, that answers everyone's theories. It gives the fans exactly what they fucking want. It gives them the highly detailed world they want. It gives them Solid Snake back. It gives them Big Boss back. It explains the loopholes. It lets them play all their fucking favorite games. It's the new Death Stranding is the new Metal Gear Solid 3, and TPP and Ground Zeroes was the new Metal Gear Solid 2. Um, That's cool. I saw someone linked me. I don't know if that was you or not, but someone linked me in the Never Be Game Over subreddit, and they showed me. And I actually saw that what that person was writing, but I just didn't really think too much about it. I saw them talking about Copplethorne, but I didn't think, oh, this is an insider or anything like that. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm at work on my phone, and I'm not supposed to be on Reddit, so I just kind of gave it a quick glance and then fucking hopped off. But that's cool that they linked my video because fuck, I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, I don't even know how people can navigate through my YouTube channel. There's a lot of shit in there, but for them to link it, they must have watched it, and I'm pretty sure it's a fucking long video. Let me pull it up. Okay, here's the post about it. So I posted this one. This was posted in August of 2018, so almost a year ago. Um, and yeah, it's a fucking hour long. Oh, look, see this little picture right here is that's Rose telling Snake when he's talking about, oh, I've died so many fucking times, I can tell. But that's great. I mean, if people watched it, especially if they watched the whole video, that's awesome. Because I mean, I don't ever think I sit through fucking hour-long videos. Um, so where Snake battles Metal Gear Ray in New York City can be an alternate reality of sorts. The one with Snake running away from water, and the ship had automatic weapons. Um, Let me think about that one. Could it be an alternate reality? I don't see anything specific in the storyline from Metal Gear 1 to Metal Gear 2 that could make it an alternate reality, except Metal Gear Solid VR missions, which kind of touched on. Well, at least we know there's VR now in the series. I mean, there was some VR in the original Metal Gear, but not very much. But other than that, the only thing I could think of that would make that an alternate reality is if Kojima's seeing it that any observation from the player is creating an alternate reality in the series. And I think I covered it in my external gazer video, but there is um, there is um, some VR missions in Metal Gear Solid 2 that go into the Copplethorne engine and also talk about how the realities and parallel universes there are. And there's this Godzilla type Gru soldier that you fight that's huge. Um, and that was actually done also on the original Metal Gear Solid VR missions. It was one of the bosses for the original Metal Gear Solid VR missions on the PlayStation 1. VR, what is that shit called? Oh, I can't remember the name of the mission, but it was huge. That'll probably bring it up. I think this is it. Oh my god, sorry. That was really fucking loud. Sorry, you guys. Yeah, there's a mission somewhere on Metal Gear Solid 1 where you're fighting a giant soldier. Yeah, it's Ginola, you're right. It is Ginola. I was trying to remember what the hell it was called. Yeah, it's Ginola. There he is. Yeah, there's one with two of them. You can make one of them smack the other one and like knock him off, and then he ends up falling. Okay, so this is the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. This is for Metal Gear Solid 2. So this is the version in Metal Gear Solid 2 of the giant soldier. But there's one in Metal Gear Solid 1. Here it is. Um, yeah, so I mean, these timelines. Remember, Kojima's posting all these pictures of fucking Godzilla. I mean, you could say it goes all the way back to this. Yeah, I know that Arsenal Gear was in Manhattan, um, and you know that it crashed there. It's in like the one of the end cutscenes right before you end up fighting Solidus on top of the building. Yeah, he does have spines like Godzilla. I've seen that. I've seen that. Yeah, and then Kojima's tweet the other day about S3. I mean, how obvious is that? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's nice now that it's not as hard to convince some people because Kojima's being pretty open with the theories. And you know, I live in LA. I'm really close. I'm right next to Square Enix and EA and all that. I've never been to E3, but I'm always like really tempted to go to E3 and just fucking have a list of all this shit together and tell Kojima to his face like, this is what you're doing. I got it all fucking figured out. But yeah, here's the tweet he made. Oh, I call it social strand system. It's so obvious that it's fucking S3. Like, he's not giving you any facts, but it's pretty easy to read between the lines. Yeah, I know. I remember about 9/11 when all that happened, and they had to cut it. I think there was like a whole good portion of the game that was cut because of 9/11. Yeah. So anyway, this video is a fucking mess. There's so many like things open from my desktop and all this crap, and um, I'm gonna be gone at least tomorrow, and I'll be back Sunday. But there's a lot going on in my life right now. Like, I'm fucking getting married this month, and fucking I gotta work a day job, and I come home and I barely have time to do shit. So I'm gonna try to get that video out, but I think this video's pretty good at explaining to everyone where I'm going with all this and how I feel all this shit works out. Yeah, and I'm wondering if in Death Stranding this black ooze is if it's nanomachines. I could see that happening because of 9/11. I could see him wiping a good portion of the game, um, throwing in Raiden for whatever reason to make it work, and then fans being super fucking disappointed, and then him saying, "Okay, let's give them what they fucking want," and that's when we got Metal Gear 3. When Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, I was so stoked on the game. I fucking had to have it, and my best friend bought it for me for my birthday, but he bought it like a month or two ahead of my birthday. I was with him at the game store when he bought it, and I um, I got back to my house, and he's like, "I'm not giving this to you until it's your birthday." I was like, "Okay, can I at least read the case?" And he's not a big gamer, so he's like, "Yeah, you can read the case." And while I was reading the case, I fucking opened it, took the disc out, popped the Metal Gear Solid 3 disc in my Metal Gear Solid 2 case, and then I popped Metal Gear Solid 2 into the Metal Gear Solid 3 case, gave it back to him, and played the shit out of Metal Gear Solid 3 without him knowing. And then when my birthday finally came, he gave me the game, and I told him, "Oh, that? Yeah, I fucking beat the game a long time ago." And he's like, "What?" I told him, "Yeah, dude, I've had that game for like a month or two now." And I told him to open it, and sure enough, it was Metal Gear Solid 2 in there, and he fucking was pissed. Metal Gear Solid 3 was kind of funky the fucking first time because when it first released, it was just the top-down camera. They didn't have that 3D camera that everyone's familiar with now in the game. And I had to beat it with that top-down camera because there was no third person camera option in the game. It wasn't until they re-released the game as Subsistence that they added that 3D camera, and it was a lot easier. I don't know how the fuck I beat it with just the top-down camera. It was nuts when I go back and try to play it like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that footage of Arsenal Gear coming over Manhattan and like crashing into shit. It's fucking huge. It's like wiping out a lot of Manhattan when that happens. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget where it's from, but I know I've seen it. I know I've seen that footage. And I think that's the same footage where they also show, or maybe that's from Metal Gear, the ending. I remember there's like footage. I think it might be at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 when Arsenal Gear and the AIs are going crazy, but it shows like 100 fucking Solid Snakes running through VR. You're probably right. That's probably where it's from. Yeah, I've seen that. All right, guys, I gotta go. It's late and I'm rambling, and my in-laws are upstairs sleeping, and I don't want to be on here all night because I got a big day tomorrow. But I just wanted to go over all that stuff with you guys, and I'll probably take a week or so at least to make that video. I think this video right here, as sloppy as it is probably a lot better at explaining everything. Because when I make the videos, I have to make sure I have footage that kind of explains it, and it's a pain in the ass to edit all that stuff these days. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, it took me a while to find the right one, but the one I'm with now, she's fucking awesome. She's a great woman. Um, yeah, so all right, guys. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the sub. And maybe I'll do this again later on, and hopefully I'll post that video sometime soon. All right. Oh, we're already making baby. She's actually pregnant right now, so she's like I think 2 months now, maybe almost 3 months pregnant. So you can't tell she's pregnant, but she's definitely pregnant. So there'll be more babies going forth, and I'll definitely be making them play through this whole series game by game. All right, man. I'll see you guys. Have a good night. Take it easy.